Rain was a cargo pilot, not a hero, not a soldier. Just a normal human flying shipments between planets. His ship, the Star Jumper, had landed at Station Kale 9, an old, quiet station orbiting a dead moon. Rain only planned to stay one night, refuel, and leave. Nothing more, but something strange happened. When Rain woke up that morning, he checked the ship's systems. Fuel levels were down, way down. How is this possible? He whispered. He ran diagnostics. No engine activity. No leaks detected. No warnings. But nearly 20% of the fuel was missing. Rain frowned. This wasn't normal. He opened the main panel and inspected the pipes. No cracks. No fuel stains. Everything looked clean. The fuel tanks were sealed tight. Maybe a sensor glitch, he said to himself. He restarted the system and ran another test. Still missing. Rain felt a chill run down his spine. Fuel didn't just disappear. And out here, in the middle of nowhere, fuel was life. Without it, he couldn't leave. He couldn't call for help either. Communication signals were weak near the dead moon. He reported the issue to station control, but they only replied with a generic message. System logs show. Nothing. Try again after full diagnostics. Rain didn't trust it. That night, instead of sleeping, he set up a hidden camera near the main fuel valve. He also activated motion sensors and a silent alarm. He didn't know what to expect, but he knew something was wrong. He sat in the dark cargo bay with only a dim light, drinking cold coffee, watching the camera feed on his tablet. Hours passed. Nothing. Just silence. Then, movement. Rain leaned forward. The camera showed a hatch opening from the inside. That shouldn't be possible. All maintenance hatches were locked. A shadow moved through the narrow corridor, silent. As a whisper, the figure was tall and slim, with long hair flowing behind them. They moved fast, but not like a human. The figure crouched near the main fuel pipe. Rain watched in shock as they pulled out a metal straw and drank. Not sipped, not tested. They drank the fuel like it was water. Rayn stared, frozen. The camera zoomed in just enough. The face was feminine, not human. Her skin looked smooth, almost like soft metal. Her eyes were glowing silver. She drank calmly, as if this was normal for her. The system's silent alarm buzzed on the tablet. Rain quickly stood up, his heart pounding. He grabbed his small stun blaster and ran toward the fuel section. The corridor was dark, lights flickering. He moved quietly, not knowing what to expect. When he reached the fuel room, it was empty. No one was there. Only the hatch was open, and the air smelled faintly of fuel. A strange smell, mixed with something sweet, like burned sugar. Rain closed the hatch and locked it tight. He checked the tank. Another 6% was gone. Who the hell drinks rocket fuel? He whispered. The next morning, Rain stayed on the ship. He didn't report the footage yet. He wanted answers first. He replayed the video again and again. Every time the same thing. Silver eyes, long dark hair, sipping fuel calmly, like tea. No fear, no rush. Like she belonged there. Rain opened his personal log and made a note. Subject appears female. Alien. Possibly unknown species. Consumes Type 7 refined fuel directly. No signs of pain or damage. Energy-based metabolism? He had heard stories, whispers in space bars, about creatures who fed on energy. Most people thought they were myths, but this was real. He wasn't sure if she was dangerous, but she was something else. That night, Rain set a trap. He left a small tank of fuel out in the hallway near the hatch. He placed 3 cameras around the room, one hidden in a crate, one in the ceiling, and one in a toolbox. Then he waited, and she returned. Same time. Same silence. She walked slowly this time, her hair swaying behind her. She looked down at the tank, smiled softly, and lifted it with one hand. As she began to drink, she looked straight at the hidden camera in the toolbox and smiled. Again, as if she knew he was watching. Rain's hand trembled. This wasn't just a random thief. She knew what she was doing, and she wasn't afraid of him. Rain didn't sleep that night. He kept replaying her smile in his mind, the way she looked directly into the camera like she was saying, "I see you." Who was she? And how could someone drink refined rocket fuel like juice? By morning, he made his decision. He was going to find her. Rain loaded a small hand scanner into his jacket and took a stun stick with low charge. He didn't want to hurt her. He just wanted answers. Answers. And maybe a reason not to be scared. He followed the corridor toward the maintenance hatch, the same place she always came from. The hallway was dim and narrow, filled with dust and forgotten wires. Kale 9 hadn't been updated in decades. He passed a flickering light, then stopped. The hatch was open. Carefully, he stepped through. It was quiet. No footsteps, no voices. Just the hum of old machines. A strange smell hung in the air fuel, mixed with something metallic and sweet. As he turned the corner, he saw her. She was sitting cross-legged on a broken crate, holding a cup. Not a fancy one, just a bent metal piece shaped into a bowl. She dipped it into a small fuel leak dripping from a pipe above her head and drank slowly. Her silver eyes closed like she was enjoying it. She didn't notice him at first. Or maybe she did, because without turning, she said softly, "You followed me." Rain froze. "How do you know my language?" he asked, slowly raising his scanner. She turned to face him. Her skin shimmered like liquid glass, reflecting the flickering. Light. Her eyes opened wide, bright silver, glowing faintly. "I watched your broadcasts," she said. "Old human videos, training films, comedy shows." She tilted her head. "Your race is strange, but funny." Rain didn't lower the scanner. "What are you?" The alien girl stood up slowly, not in fear, but with calm grace. "My name is Kira. I don't belong to any known species on your databases," she said. "I wasn't born. I was grown, designed." "Designed?" Rain echoed. Confused, she stepped forward, not threatening, just honest. "We were created to live off energy, heat, light, fuel. But the ones who made us didn't like what we became." Rain narrowed his eyes. "Who made you?" Kira looked away. "Humans." Silence filled the maintenance room. Rain blinked. "That's not possible. We don't make species. We don't play gods." "You did," she whispered. "A long time ago. Maybe you forgot. Or maybe it was classified and buried." Rain didn't want to believe it. But he had seen enough strangeness in the galaxy to know. Sometimes history lies. "So, why come to my ship?" he asked. She smiled again. "Not evil, not dangerous, just tired. I was hungry." Rain lowered the scanner. Finally, he looked at her, really looked at her. She didn't have any weapons. No armor, no tech. Just tattered clothing, glowing veins under her skin, and a small stolen cup. "You've been drinking rocket fuel for how long?" he asked. "Days," she said. "Maybe weeks." Time moves slow when you're hiding. Rain looked at the leak above her. It wasn't natural. It was drilled by hand. She must have made it. "You should be dead," he said quietly. Kira chuckled. "Your fuel keeps me alive." Rain sighed. "And what if I help you? Fix my ship, you stop drinking my tank, and I'll..." He paused. "What? Take you somewhere?" Kira looked straight into his eyes. "Take me off this station. That's all I ask." Something about her tone made him pause. It wasn't just about hunger. She was running. Rain's cum beeped. Station-wide message flashed. Security alert. Unauthorized entity detected. Proceed with caution. Rain's stomach twisted. They knew. He looked back at Kira. She was already backing away, her silver eyes dimming. "I'll go," she whispered. "They always find me." "No." Rain grabbed her arm. Her skin was cool, but pulsing with a quiet energy. "You're coming with me." She hesitated. "Why?" she asked. Rain looked toward the corridor, hearing heavy boots approaching in the distance. "Because," he said, "I think someone lied to us about what." "You really are." Rain moved fast. He pulled Kira through the dark hallway, keeping to the shadows. The echo of heavy boots grew louder behind them, station security, and they weren't moving slowly. Kira's hand trembled in his grip. She looked strong, otherworldly. But in that moment, she seemed fragile, like someone who had been running for a long time. They reached the docking bay. Rain's ship, the Star Jumper, stood silent and waiting, its side lights blinking like a heartbeat. He hit the ramp control. The door opened with a hiss, and they ran inside. Rain sealed the hatch and bolted it from inside. "Bridge," he ordered. The AI lit up and directed them to the command deck. Kira sank into the co-pilot's seat, breathing hard. "They'll scan. For biosigns, you won't be able to hide me." "I can do better," Rain muttered, tapping controls. He diverted ship power to a heat-dampening field. "I can make you disappear?" She looked at him strangely. "Why are you helping me?" Rain glanced at her, then turned back to the console. "Because I've seen what your kind can do with just one sip of fuel. If someone created that and then tried to erase it, there's something bigger going on." Kira looked down at her glowing hands. "They called us Fuelborn. The project name was Project Ignis. There were 12 of us." Rain paused. "Were?" "They killed 10. One vanished, and I ran." She stared ahead, eyes distant. "We were built in a hidden lab on Proxima V. Not born, engineered. Designed to store and release energy instantly. Living batteries. Power in a humanoid form." Rain's stomach twisted. He had read old stories about dark science during the First Galactic Expansion, human labs creating living tools during the fuel wars. Most thought they were myths. No records existed. All wiped. But now one of those myths was sitting in his ship, alive. "You're not a weapon," Rain said, voice firm. Kira's voice was quiet. "No, but I was designed to be." Suddenly, the ship's proximity alarm screamed. A squad of armed station drones had surrounded the docking bay. A transmission came through. "Vessel ID 342J. You are harboring a biohazard subject. Turn her over immediately, or we will breach the hull." Rain clenched his jaw. He turned to Kira. "Can you do something?" "Anything." Kira hesitated. "If I take in more fuel, I can disable them, but I won't kill." Rain didn't argue. He sprinted to the fuel line and attached a short pipe from the auxiliary tank. Kira stood and walked to it like someone approaching a holy altar. She pressed her lips to the pipe and drank just for a few seconds. When she looked up, her veins were glowing bright silver. Her eyes flared with white fire. Rain opened the outer cannon hatch, expecting a firefight, but Kira raised her hand, and the external lights blinked, then exploded into sparks. The drones outside shook violently and dropped to the ground, systems fried. "EMP shockwave," Rain muttered. "From her body?" Before either of them could breathe, another alert pinged. A private message came through, encrypted and hidden. Not from the station dot, it was from deep space. Rain opened it. A video played. A lab, clean and white. A glass cell. And inside, Kira, younger, eyes closed. Tubes in her arms. Scientists in white coats watched her like she was just a machine. Then a voice spoke in the video. Project Ignis is unstable. Terminate all test subjects. The risk is too high. No witnesses. Kira turned away from the screen. That's what they showed the council. A lie. Rain's hands trembled. He had the truth now. The destruction of the fuel-borne wasn't for safety, it was for control. Someone powerful wanted this tech buried forever. And Kira, just one girl, was a walking secret that could unravel it all. They'll come after us, Rain said. Kira nodded. They already are. He looked at her, more determined than ever. Then we don't run anymore. We find the last lab. We find the lost one. And we show the galaxy what they tried to bury. Kira blinked. Slowly. Why? She asked. Rain smiled. Because now I believe you. Rain knew they had to leave fast. Station KL-9 was no longer just a quiet outpost. It had become a trap. The shutdown of security drones was only the beginning. More would come. Bigger. Threats. Smarter ones. Rain rushed to the pilot's seat. Kira sat beside him, her glow fading slowly as she recovered from the EMP pulse. Coordinates, he said quickly. Do you remember where they kept you? Kira closed her eyes and whispered. Sector 7G, near the red dwarf in the Targo system. That's where the lab was hidden, on an abandoned research moon. Rain locked the coordinates into the navigation system and prepared the jump. The ship's engines hummed, fuel draining fast. Every move now burned resources he might not get. Again, the ship shook. An energy pulse hit the side. Rain looked at the radar. A warship had just arrived. That it wasn't part of the station fleet. It was stealth marked. No insignia. No name. Kira's voice dropped to a whisper. They found us. A transmission buzzed in voice, only unregistered vessel. You are carrying stolen human technology. Disable your engines and prepare for boarding. Rain ignored it. Kira stood. Her hands glowed again. I can try to block their sensors. It won't hold long. Rain nodded. Do it. Just buy me 30 seconds. She pressed her palm against the ship's wall. The lights flickered. Energy flowed from her skin into the systems, overriding the ship's defenses with raw power. The warship's targeting systems glitched on screen. Their lock was broken. Jump now! Kira yelled. Rain slammed the controls. The ship groaned, metal vibrating violently, and then everything stretched. Stars blurred into streaks. They had escaped. The ship re-entered normal space near Targos. Everything was quiet again. Too quiet. Rain wiped sweat from his forehead. You? Okay? Kira nodded slowly, but her body swayed. I used too much again. I need more? But there's barely any left. Rain checked the reserves. Less than 12%. If anything went wrong now, they'd be stranded in deep space. As they neared the coordinates, Kira spoke softly. There, behind the dark asteroid field. That's where. The lab is hidden. Rain steered the ship through a maze of floating rocks. Dust and metal fragments surrounded them, making the ship's sensors almost blind. But then they saw it, a black moon, small and dead. No lights, no signals, just a single structure built into the rock, a sealed dome, half buried. Rain hovered above it. This place hasn't seen visitors in years. They landed softly. Rain and Kira stepped out, wearing breathing masks. The air was thin, but stable. Kira walked ahead like she remembered every step. Her glowing hands lit the path. Inside the dome, dust covered the floor. Broken equipment, shattered glass, and torn data pads lay everywhere. But the walls still whispered of secrets. Kira walked to a locked chamber door. This is where they kept us. Rain connected his tablet to the door console. I'll try to open it. As he worked, the air behind them shifted. Kira spun around her. Eyes flaring. A figure stepped from the shadows. Tall, wrapped in dark armor, face hidden under a black visor. "You came," the figure said. The voice was distorted, but not robotic. Rain raised his stun blaster. Kira stared. Her voice trembled. "Number 4? The figure nodded slowly and removed the helmet dot. It was another. Fuel burn. His skin glowed red instead of silver. His veins pulsed with deep orange light, like molten fire. His eyes burned like coals. "I never escaped," he said. "I was reprogrammed, upgraded, and sent to stop any survivors." Rain stepped between them. "You're working for the ones who made you?" "I'm the only one who didn't run," the red fuel burn replied. "And I'm not here to talk." "Without." Warning, he raised his hand and the room exploded with light. Rain flew back, hitting the wall hard. Sparks burst from the broken panels. Kira screamed, shielding her face. Her glow returned, brighter than before. She rushed forward, clashing with the red fuel-born. Their hands met light against fire. The room shook. Rayn, injured but conscious, crawled toward the main console. If he could power the lockdown override, he could trap them inside, or give Kira the edge. Behind him, the two fuel-born fought like living storms. Kira yelled, "He's stronger. Rain, don't let him get out." Rain's fingers reached the final control key. He slammed it. The doors sealed. Then, silence. Asterisk. The room was sealed. No one could enter. No one could escape. Inside, energy cracked like lightning. Rain's vision was blurry. The blast had cut his shoulder and burned his jacket, but he forced himself to stay upright. Sparks fell from the ceiling. The battle between Kira and Number 4 filled the air with blinding flashes. She fought hard, but he was stronger. Kira's energy burned silver, fast and graceful, like wind. Number 4's power burned red, hot and crushing like fire. Every time Kira dodged, he struck harder. The floor shook with every blow. Rain looked around desperately. His ship was close, just a few 100 meters from the lab. If they didn't get out soon, the whole place would collapse. He tapped into the lab's control terminal. The backup systems were online. A small emergency pod was still docked in the far corner, just enough to carry 2 people. "Kira!" Rain shouted. She turned for a split second. That was all Number 4 needed. He punched her hard across the chest. Her body flew across the lab and crashed into the wall. She dropped to her knees, coughing, her glow fading. Number 4 raised his hand. His palm flared red, energy building for one final blast. "No!" Rain screamed. He pulled a heavy pipe from foam, the ground, and swung it with all his strength. It struck Number 4 in the back. The metal sparked on impact, but didn't break the skin. Number 4 turned slowly, staring at Rain. "You're just a human," he said flatly. "Exactly," Rain muttered. "And you forgot what humans do when you hurt their friends." Then Kira rose. Her hands glowed white-hot. Not silver pure white. She stepped forward. Her voice was different, now stronger, sharper, filled with fury. "You think we were made to obey," she said, "but we were built to evolve." She placed both her glowing palms against Number 4's chest. Light exploded through the lab. Rain shielded his eyes. When he looked again, Number 4 was on the ground, his armor cracked, his glow dim. His breathing was shallow, but he was alive. Kira fell beside him, exhausted. Rain ran to her. "We need to go. Now," she nodded weakly. "The whole structure. It's unstable." Together, they limped toward the emergency pod. Rain activated the bay doors and helped Kira into the seat. The pod systems lit up. "Launch in 15 seconds, the AI said. The black moon trembled. Below them. Cracks split the lab dome. One more quake, and it would be swallowed. Rain jumped into the pilot seat and slammed the ignition. The pod blasted upward as they escaped. The lab exploded below, sending molten rock and dust into the sky. Kira's body glowed softly now. Her eyes fluttered open. "You've saved me," she whispered. "You saved yourself." Rain replied, but something flashed behind them. A dark shape rose from the moon's rubble. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't alive. It was a vault. A hidden structure, buried beneath the lab. And it was opening. The pod's radar beeped. Inside that vault was another signal. A heartbeat. Another fuel-born still alive. Rain and Kira looked at each other. "I thought I was the last," she said softly. "Not anymore," Rain replied. "But they couldn't go back. Not now. Fuel was almost gone." He checked. "And nav systems. We can reach the edge of the Helos field. There's a deep spaceport there. If we make it, we refuel. And we return." Kira leaned back and closed her eyes. "Then we finish what they started. Together." Rain nodded. Together. The stars stretched again as the pod entered jump speed, leaving behind a broken lab, a buried secret, and a promise to come back. Rain's escape pod drifted through deep space. The stars outside blinked faintly, like distant eyes watching in silence. The pod was quiet. Systems were low. Fuel was almost gone. They had one shot left, just enough for a final jump. Kira lay beside him, resting. Her glow had dimmed to a soft pulse. Not weak, but peaceful. Rain kept glancing at her, as if making sure she was still real. Everything that happened still echoed in his mind. The station, the fight, number 4, the vault beneath the lab. And that signal. There was another fuel-born. One more heartbeat. Buried. Alive. Rain touched the controls. The final coordinates were already set. A floating station near the Helos field. Uncharted, quiet. A place no government cared to monitor. The AI spoke. Jump capacity remaining. 1. He hesitated, then whispered, "Do it." The pod blinked, and the stars stretched once more. They arrived near a dusty trade station orbiting a gas giant. It wasn't much, just a few fuel rigs and one landing bay, but it was enough. Rain docked. The pod. As soon as they landed, a small group of aliens approached. Traders, engineers, smugglers. Most looked at Kira with confusion. 1 or 2 backed away. Rain stepped forward. "She's not a threat. She just needs rest." An old lizard-like trader raised an eyebrow. "She glows like a reactor." Rain smiled. "Slightly. That's the idea." Inside the small port clinic, Kira recharged. They connected her to a power cell, not fuel, but clean energy, and her glow returned stronger than before. When she opened her eyes, Rain was sitting nearby, holding a datapad. "What's that?" she asked softly. Rain showed her the screen. It was the vault signal. Still active. Faint, but steady. "I traced it back," Rain said. "That vault below the lab, it's a stasis pod. Whoever's inside has been asleep for decades." Kira sat up. Her eyes sparkled. "Then there's still hope." Rain nodded. "We're not just fighting to protect you anymore. We're bringing them back." Kira stood slowly, her body humming with new energy. But Rain's expression grew serious. "We'll be hunted. You know that, right?" Kira didn't flinch. "I was hunted before. This time, I won't be alone." Rain looked down at the datapad. Again, he had uploaded all of it, the lab footage, the files from Project Ignis, even the battle data. Everything they had recovered. And he sent it. To every news net, every truth archive, every whistleblower hub in the galaxy. Let the galaxy see what was buried. Let them remember what humans once made and tried to destroy. Kira looked out the port. Window. A child walked past with glowing toys, laughing. Her eyes softened. Maybe this time, she said quietly, our kind will be something more than weapons. Rain stood beside her. No, he said, voice steady. This time, you'll be legends. Epilogue later, the vault under the lab was opened. Inside, they found her number 12. A girl like Kira, sleeping, alive. When she awoke, her first words were, "Where are the others?" Kira stepped forward, tears in her silver eyes. "Right here," she said, and hugged her tightly. Across the stars, the fuel-born were no longer forgotten. They were returning, one by one, stronger, smarter, and this time they had a human by their side, a pilot who believed in more than survival, a friend who gave them something no one else had, a second chance. Asterisk.